So
this is the Ballpark Digest Broadcaster Chat. I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler, rejoined by Kevin Reichard from Ballpark Digest, and our special guest star for this week. He had been the voice of the Arkansas Travelers before he traveled to become the voice of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Phil Elson, how are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here with you guys. Thanks so much, Kevin, Jesse. It's good to see your faces, hear your voices, and it's a topic that I hold dear, so I'm excited about it.
We're going to be talking college baseball. First, Kevin Reichard, how are you?
I'm good. Here's the obligatory shout out for all my Arkansas kin. Woo Pig Suey.
Well said. Well
Thank
said.
you.
Maybe later on we can get you to actually call the Hogs. We'll see, Kevin.
I think our hog worship's done now for the time.
So one of the big themes that we're going to talk about is, Phil, now in your 7th season with Arkansas, how you've seen the landscape shift within college baseball over the course of these years. But first, I want to go back before that to your minor league baseball days, because the minor league baseball landscape has shifted just a little bit too since then. What do you remember fondly?
Oh, I mean, I loved the experience in minor league baseball is unique, and there's still parts of it that I miss. I mean, I worked for a lot of teams before I ended up getting to the Travelers. So I had experiences in the California League and the Pioneer League and the Sally League and the Eastern League, and then got to know the Texas League very well. And it's just almost tragic to say those league names now because they don't even exist any longer. And it's going to take a lot of time to get used to that. I love the culture of minor league baseball, which is so different than the culture of Major League Baseball or the culture of college baseball or anything else. You know, I always used to think like the Travelers were almost like the best kept secret in Central Arkansas, but people knew about it, but they just sort of like would almost put it off a little. You know, you don't know what you got until you don't have it. I think people really missed even having that as an option. Or up here where I live now in Northwest Arkansas with the Naturals and the ability to know that, you know, every week or so, you're going to have a homestand of 6 or 7 games and you can just go hang out. Like I would do that even after I left the Travelers, just be at the ballpark, just to bring my kids there, hang out at the ballpark, because why would I want to be anywhere else? So I miss the day-to-day nature of it. That felt more like living a life in baseball than just covering a team. And it's a little different than in college baseball because I'm not part of the day-to-day operations of the program, you know, like I was with the Travelers, where I was also doing all of their website and handling all the stats and the official scoring. And honestly, all the stuff that broadcasters complain about too, you know, like sales and promotions and marketing and all that stuff. I mean, that's when you're intimately involved in the day-to-day operations of it. Being just a broadcaster is different. And when you play many fewer games and I'm not part of the recruiting, and, you know, I come out and watch them scrimmage in the fall and practice in the spring and all of that. So I get my eyes on them as much as possible. It's not quite like living a baseball life, because I also do basketball too, you know, just like you do too, Jesse. But when it's baseball season, man, you're living baseball season. So that is one aspect of it that I really do miss, and the craziness of it, because it's just it's tough to hold on to your hat when you're doing a full season of minor league baseball, and you really learn how to grind through, and that's where a lot of habits are built as a broadcaster, and I miss that grind sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes.
From the California League to the Pioneer League to the Eastern League and onward into the Texas League, did you have any favorite ballparks?
Oh, let's see. I mean, what ones that stand out, like I love Dickey Stevens Park in North Little Rock. And I'm completely biased because I spent 8 years calling games there, but I don't know another urban view in minor league baseball that's any better than that. It's just like my hometown Pittsburgh with PNC Park. And I always joke too that just like in Pittsburgh, they have a minor league team that plays in Little Rock too, at the same sort of ballpark. I love that place. There's some challenges about it, but I think it's really great. I really love One Oak Field in Tulsa. That's a spectacular urban setting for baseball too, and just a really neat ballpark. And the way they run their operation there has always been fun, even going back to the days of Driller Stadium. You know, I mean, I like Lindquist Field in Ogden was beautiful just because of the the mountains that were right there. It felt like you could reach out and touch them. They were like 3 miles away. Really got me to understand where the whole Purple Mountain majesty comes from America the Beautiful, because it's right there in front of you. The California League, Lake Elsinore was really interesting. It was funky. I love seeing the bunny rabbit come out of the scoreboard whenever they scored runs. I always got a kick out of that. And I fell in love with Ray Winter Field, which was the Travelers Park that they played in from 1932 through 2006, and just a really special place. I miss it. I really miss it. That's everything I thought, you know, minor league baseball was about. And the personalities too. We have personalities in college baseball, but it's much different because college baseball is all about winning. Minor league baseball is all about promotion, whether it's promoting players up a minor league, you know, up a chain, or whether it's promoting the team and finding ways to get people to come into the ballpark and spend money. The way you do that in college baseball is by winning. And that's what they do here at Arkansas. But I miss personalities like that too. And, you know, Kevin knows who Bill Valentine is. I think you probably heard that name a few times, Jesse. You know, the personalities like him, like Jim Paul, like Bobby Bragan, you know, lifetime baseball men that made their living, A, first playing or umpiring, and then B, pushing the game in almost a hucksterish way that was genuine too. So, I mean, I could wax poetic about minor league baseball forever, but that's probably also because I have perspective of not being in minor league baseball for 7 years. So I've glommed on to college baseball. I'm a convert, man. Like when I first started doing Travelers games and people would push the Razorback baseball program a little bit, and I would say, what's big about that? That's not professional baseball. They're using metal bats. They don't even play every day. They don't have any Latinos or any. It's basically just American kids playing baseball. But there's a lot of reasons to convert over to college baseball. I'm not saying you can't be a fan of both of them, but I didn't even really know college baseball existed growing up. Like in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, nobody even knew Pitt had a team. They had a team, but nobody knew. We rooted for Pitt for college basketball and football, but it's a professional sports town. Nobody cared about college baseball. Nobody north of Wichita cares about college baseball. It's a little different now because it's picking up. And when I started to get a little bit tired of the idea that the wins and the losses in minor league baseball didn't matter, because let's be honest here, they don't. I started to not sour on it, but I want my team to win games. It makes the broadcast more fun. Fans want them to. Like they, you know, you get 5,000 people on average to a minor league baseball game. There's always a hardcore 1,000 that follows the game, that knows the team, that knows the stats and all of that. But that's a very small amount of the fans. Other people mostly are there for the experience and for the fun and for what we know minor league baseball to be. And I would hear the people that ran the Angels system talk about, it's important for us to win in the minor leagues, but then I would see so many pieces of proof that would show otherwise, that it's really just about getting guys up. And that's fine. If that's what it's about, that's fine. I get it. I'm from a major league city. I didn't care what the minor league teams in the Pirates chain did. I wanted the Buccos to win baseball games. That's what the Travelers were for the Angels. So you know what college baseball is all about? Winning at all costs. And that is awesome. I love that about this. And so the people that are fans of these teams are rabid. Whether it's 1,500 of them or whether it's 500 of them or whether it's like here when we get 12,000 people at this ballpark for a Friday night in the SEC, those are 12,000 people that are into the damn game. And the radio listeners are the same way. It's a totally different culture of the way the game is played and how it's followed. And it is intoxicating.
Kevin, I'm going to keep on peppering Phil. So this is your chance to slide in some thoughts.
I have no thoughts about this. I know exactly what Phil means about not really realizing the special qualities of college baseball. You know, when I was growing up, University of Minnesota had an awesome baseball program, College World Series. Um, Dave Winfield, Paul Molitor were playing through the system at that time.
Yeah.
No one cared. No one went to U of M games. They played at a dinky little ballpark at campus. No one cared, and they still don't, which is a shame because the program's decent. But I think it's rather indicative of the fact that right now in college baseball, there's definitely a two-tiered system, and that's okay. You can't change the weather in March, for goodness sakes.
That's true, but it's even more than two tiers, I think, too, because even there's, there's a huge difference in a Southern school. Like, I don't even think Arkansas is a Southern school, but, we are. But playing in the middle of February here is a little dicey because it's up in the mountains. We get snow, so it doesn't always work. But, let's say like a Southern school like an LSU or even a Georgia Tech or Mississippi State, that's way different from from most of the mid majors that are down here. So there's even two tiers in the South. And then there's the North, which is like, those guys go on month-long road trips to start the season. It's unfair. Like, the college season shouldn't start when it starts. And I think there's a movement in college baseball for eventually it to be pushed back like it should. And I don't think they can do it necessarily right now or maybe next year, but I think in the future, it's trending in that direction, and Major League Baseball is doing its part to kind of ensure that they can do that too. Because the draft is going to be in July now, so college baseball season can kind of go into July. As far as I'm concerned,
baseball would love that. They're open about it. They would love to see the college baseball. They see college baseball as being the prep ground during a season now, not the college baseball season ending, and then they're drafted in July, and then the short season leagues start. Right now, they want it to be seamless.
Well, and with the elimination of the short season leagues, and I don't know how they're operating with these partner leagues like the Atlantic League and the Pioneer League and all of that, but they're not going to worry about how those teams find their players. Those operators will find their players. With no short season minor leagues that are actually affiliated or licensed or whatever it is they're calling it, it does become, in a way, seamless. And I feel like, there's all these reasons why Major League Baseball has streamlined the whole system. And that's probably the best way to put it. I know that in a very unfair way, a lot of fans and operators and players have lost something, whether it's a job or a team that they followed or a property that they own. And I hate to, put it this way, because I'm no businessman, but business is not fair. Major League Baseball did what was best for itself. And maybe they did what was best overall for the game. I don't know. You can't figure that out right now because we have to see how this all works out. But they've also ceded some coaching to college baseball or development to college baseball. And it's almost an acknowledgement that there are a lot of programs, Arkansas being, I think, near the top of the list, that have the coaches, that have the facilities, that have the money and the time to take on the more riskier prospects that used to be drafted in the 20 rounds, the 30 rounds, those rounds that aren't going to be around anymore. You're not going to be taking chances on kids that you draft anymore. You're going to ensure that whoever you draft is going to sign with you, just like last year. So it's a seeding of development of a lot of players to college baseball in a place like Arkansas.
What could Major League Baseball learn from college baseball? Because right now we're at this point where Major League Baseball is going to be experimenting big time in the minor leagues, whether that's directly in minor league baseball, whether that's in the partner leagues like the Atlantic League, with rule changes and other matters. But in your experience and in these past 7 seasons in college baseball, what do you say this is a lesson that can be learned and integrated within the majors and the minors?
Well, college baseball has the ability to just automatically enforce things that Major League Baseball can't. There's no players union for college players. You know, they're still fighting a battle of the whole 11.7 scholarships and how, you know, it's kind of weird to try to do that. But what college baseball is, and maybe for me, it's better to just encase it in the SEC specifically, because the SEC operates as its own baseball league in a different way, just overall from the NCAA. The SEC does experiment with some things, and college baseball does experiment with some things, just like Major League Baseball has changed the ball right now a little bit. My first year doing college baseball, they had just changed the ball too. So college baseball has been trying to find that sweet spot between pitching and batting, essentially how far the ball flies and all of that stuff. You had the gorilla bats for all those years, the lightning bats, and, you know, all you had to do was tap it and it would go 3 million feet. You know, they don't have bats like that anymore. The ball is absolutely perfect. They have found the sweet spot for what college baseball needs to be like as far as fairness between pitching and hitting. Major League Baseball is looking for that. And I don't know if they can take anything from what college baseball did, because you're talking about grown men instead of college athletes, which are still growing in a lot of ways. But there still are similarities between the games. In Major League Baseball, if you don't win, you don't have a job. If in college baseball, if you don't win, you don't have a job. Same with guys. Like, there isn't anybody that gets entrenched at a position here. Nobody just gets to be in the starting lineup. If you don't produce, you're going to find somebody else who will produce. It's just like a big league team too. You know, as far the advice I would have given would be, you know, to Major League Baseball. I mean, people are. I hate when everybody acts like the game is so sacrosanct that you can't tinker with some things to see if you can't actually make the game not better, but like actually fair. Like this whole idea with what they're doing, and forget what league they're doing it in, the minors, of putting 4 infielders, all their feet on the dirt.
Double
This
A.
is actually kind of fascinating when you think about it. They're trying to incentivize hitting ground balls. You know, I mean, I get why it feels weird for fans, but let's think this out a little bit here. You know, the bigger bases is also an answer. I was reading about this yesterday. The bigger bases is an answer also to injuries, or to the fact that everything happening around the base is so more magnified with instant replay. So the bigger base actually makes it fairer overall. So this isn't a matter of, oh, they're changing the game, I can't watch it or anything. Stop being so impressed with yourself that you love baseball. That's the way I put it. Like, I always say it this way too. There is no such thing as a baseball purist. No. People say that about themselves when they want to impress themselves. It's okay to try things and still love the game of baseball. It's okay. I hate the thought of a runner at second base in the 10th inning just because. A lot of the managers and players actually seem to dig it. Who am I to say that that's wrong then? You know, I mean, we're all going to end up playing under the same rules. It's okay. It's still bat, ball, 3 strikes, 4 balls, 90 feet might change a little with bigger bases. I don't know. Are they going to push the mound back, or the rubber back an extra foot, or, you know, an inch or two? Give it a try. Athletes are better than they were before. That's why pitchers throw harder. That's why guys hit the ball farther. Why not change the dimensions a little? I don't know. I want this game to survive. It doesn't have to stay exact. You stay exactly the same way you are. If you don't adjust, you're gonna die. What's baseball all about, guys? Adjustments. The game needs to adjust too sometimes.
I'm with you. I actually love the runner on second base, though, in extra innings. I think that adds a lot of excitement to what had been dreary extra inning attrition battles. And I love the base too.
It adds an instant element of excitement. Like, I can imagine. So I remember when the NHL first instituted sudden death. Oh my God, oh my God, the one, and now they do shootouts. And it's like, oh my God, we're not going to have any more ties? How could we not have any more ties? How are you going to let the game come down to a shootout? You're like, shut up. This is exciting. Look at this. Maybe you're not going to decide a championship on that, because they don't, but it's instant excitement. And it means you don't have to stay around for 5 hours on occasion, which I don't want to do a 6-hour broadcast. So fine.
So
go ahead and change the game a little bit.
I am old enough to remember the WHA and how they marketed themselves with things like sudden death, multi-line passes were just fine. You know, all that was excitement that ended up being adopted by the NHL. And the WHA used to say, you know, a tie is like kissing your sister. We hate it, and so do you.
Yeah, right.
Guerrilla marketing. I mean, that's why the Fighting Saints kicked butt on the North Stars in Minnesota, because they had that excitement going on. And so that's why the runner on second.
You remember the ABA and the 3-point shot?
Yeah, like, 3-point shot.
Oh my God, a 3-point shot. Now they're actually, you know, we could actually see a 4-point shot at some time. So, you know, you make changes to a sport because they've been doing this for decades. You know, I mean, it's like, I'm fine if pitchers don't hit. They don't have to hit. I don't care if pitchers hit or not. And anybody that says otherwise, honestly, I think they're the baseball purist that wants to be very impressed with their own ability to say that they would never, that pitchers are supposed to hit. I get it. Back when baseball was written, when the rules were codified, everybody that had a position had a spot on the lineup. But you know what? They found a better way to do it, because pitchers can't freaking hit. And just because a pitcher hits a home run, or you got a guy like Zach Greinke, you're fine. If Zach Greinke can hit, then let him put him in the lineup then that day. Fine. But that's not the reason for pitchers to hit. The game is better when they don't.
Phil, I want to stick with that idea of change, because that's where we've made our way to. Here's your 7th season with Arkansas. There's change on the field. There's change with the ball. There's change with the bat. What other changes have you seen?
In college baseball specifically?
In college baseball specifically.
It's instant replay. It was very quickly instituted before Major League Baseball instituted it. And but actually, the first thing Major League Baseball did was a home run. You know, if it went over the fence or not. Before they did that, the SEC, and it's the SEC that was first, you know, to do instant replay in college baseball. Before they even started doing base replays and stuff like that in the majors, they were doing it here in the SEC. And sometimes it takes a little too long. Like, we had a 4-minute replay on Sunday, and they did a replay on the replay, which we still don't understand what that was about. But then, you know, you want to say about something else. I mean, umpiring in college baseball isn't always the best either. So that could be part of it. But the instant replay is a huge change. There's an ability to have an earpiece for the catcher and the pitcher, or between the it is the catcher and the pitcher. And we've even seen that. I can't understand why they would do this. Like Alabama, we played Alabama this last weekend. They don't use the radio now. They could have, but they had this whole armband system for their pitcher to look into the dugout and get the pitch that way and the location, everything. And, you know, this ballpark here is different than a lot of other college parks in that it has a AAA ballpark feel. So the dugouts are further back in foul territory. And so they couldn't, the pitcher couldn't see the guy that was supposed to be giving him a sign, because it was at night and they're on the darker side over there and he couldn't see. And so, you know, Dave Van Horn lets our catcher calls the game. We're one of the only programs where the catcher is allowed to call the game once the head coach says, you know, I trust him. Usually they have catchers here that they trust. So, but the radio system like that, that's different. You know, one interesting thing, and I guess I sort of took this as gospel almost, that in college baseball, they don't care about burning somebody's arm or anything like that. And I'll be honest, like, I haven't really seen that. You know, you don't see guys go out and do 165, 170 pitches anymore. I think they used to. You know, there was the case of Kevin Abel for Oregon State when they beat Arkansas in the College World Series in 2018. He did throw, gosh, I think it was 130 some pitches in the clincher against us, just a couple of days after he'd thrown a couple of innings. So, and he ended up going down with Tommy John he needed Tommy John the next year. But that's one of the only cases that I've really seen that. So I think they're much better about keeping watch over pitch counts, stressful pitch counts specifically. And the ability to get with the latest technology, specifically like in this division of the SEC, and if you guys get a chance, I'll show you out there in right field here, from afar, this new, it's called the JB and John L. Hunt Family Development Center, and it's got to have a whole new clubhouse and a clubhouse for former Razorbacks who are professional players to come back to use for their own, and offices and all that. But they're also building probably the #1 pitching laboratory in America. With the pitching coach here is Matt Hobbs. He had built a smaller, but sort of much smaller, but sort of similar facility when he was the pitching coach at Wake Forest. So, I mean, they have the best technology for baseball in college baseball, in the SEC specifically. The facilities here, ever since I got here, have changed dramatically. Aside from just the ballpark here where we're sitting, there's the new building in right field, and then just past over here, across the street is what's called the Fowler Center, and it's got to be one of the, if not the premier indoor facility in all of baseball in America, major or minor, to be honest, or out of college, to be honest. It's 3/4 of a full baseball field that is netted with pitching tunnels. The only thing they can't do is practice pop-ups there. It's nuts. So the amount of money put into a place like Arkansas, but also LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Florida, incredible. And that also gives me the feeling, like we were talking about earlier, it's like, why are we here? We're here to win baseball games. We're here to get these guys better. Yes. We're here for them to get an education. Yes. We're here to create a great atmosphere for these fans. Yes. But they're here to win baseball games and go to the freaking College World Series. And that's why I took this job. So, because I thought this was a program that could compete for it every single year. And they do.
Yeah. It's certainly an arms race when it comes to technology and facilities in college baseball, isn't it? When you look at all the major upgrades that have happened, University of Florida opened up their new ballpark, and it was all alumni driven. Alumni will give money for facilities if you have a winning program.
They will, and it mirrors a lot of what already has happened in college football and college basketball, where how many years was it either Tennessee or Penn State or Michigan or Alabama that would add another 500 seats so that they could claim they had the highest capacity? And then it became more about the facilities itself, workout facilities, right, locker rooms, practice facilities, and everything like that. And so they've already built all of those. Most teams have their new-ish, Death Star-like college football facility. And the basketball came after that. And at Arkansas, they have a second to none indoor basketball practice facility that's split half and half between the women and the men. And a lot of other schools here have nice facilities, maybe not quite like that, but now it's filtered into college baseball too. And the growth of the sport, the popularity of the sport it's tough to, figure out, like, is this a chicken or the egg thing? Because as the facilities get better, the play on the field gets better. This year, with the glut of talent in college baseball because of the fewer rounds in the draft and the pandemic giving everybody an extra year of eligibility, I think it's a noticeable uptick in quality of play, and we've only just started. So they will continue to battle. And as far as all of that goes, I just don't know, like, what's next? Do we put a roof over the ballpark? I don't know what else they can build, really. I mean, this guy came into the radio booth here just before I did my radio show, and he's looking around, got a hard hat on. I said, what's going on? And he said he was looking at the lights. I was like, oh, are we replacing the lights? He said, we're going to build they're going to have a new press box here for you guys after this. They're going to build a new one. I was like, oh, really? That was like the one thing they didn't do. Got a new pitching facility, got a new hitting facility. We got new suites and seating areas and everything. Just hadn't redone the radio booth. So it's like, there you go. That's the last thing.
Have you placed your order? Have you said, all right, here's what I want for my mini fridge?
Right now. No, I just found this out like 4 hours ago. I got to start building my list.
I want to stick on that idea of popularity, because Major League Baseball comes up all the time. How popular is baseball? Are we worried about baseball's popularity flagging nationally. What does this mean? What are the ratings? What are the attendances? What have you seen with regards to popularity at the SEC at the collegiate level?
It's exploded. It's exploded. And that's why, like, I don't necessarily buy the idea that baseball is dying. There might be certain areas of baseball that are withering, or that you might have a fan base that's getting a little bit older, but like, baseball's not in danger of dying. There's still lots of people across the world that want to play the game. There's still rabid fan bases across this country, whether it's a major league team or college baseball. But the popularity that I've seen in the SEC is exploding. And it's specifically in the state here in Arkansas. This is, you know, we have a statewide radio network for baseball games. We cut into, you know, big programs that make lots of money for our big station out of Little Rock. It's turned into a huge deal here. And I think that really didn't catch everybody by surprise, but they just wouldn't have expected that in football country, where football is a religion, that baseball would be that college baseball, youth baseball too, would be as popular as it is. You know, there's the popular and youth baseball probably has to change a little bit, and you know, the whole prospectization of youth baseball, but the popularity of it still can't be overstated. Really, it's very popular. Baseball's fine. It's just a matter of who's watching where, and the majors are gonna be okay. I really do. I'm not worried about Major League Baseball dying. I am worried about a little of the game. You know, they need to change things a little bit to actually, for me, to make it a better game specifically. More balls in play are pretty important. We lose sight of the athleticism because too much is focused on velocity and power. And that's not what baseball is about. That's what part of it is about. But it's not really, like, I love a home run, and a strikeout at 100 miles an hour is cool. But show me a team that can turn two. You know, show me a shortstop that can go in the hole. Show me an outfielder that can make a great play look easy without diving. Show me a guy that can reach base with two. We had a guy for Alabama the other day. You've never seen a dude choke up like this. They're like half the bat coming out of his hand. He put the bat on his shoulder like this. It was just like, wow, nobody would ever think to do this in the majors, right?
Nap Lajoie, that's it.
Yeah. It was he was Nap Lajoie. He was more like Rabbit Moranville. I mean, he just looked like all he was looking to do was just punch it. And Arkansas ended up striking the guy out twice. He'd struck out 4 times all season. They struck him out twice.
Just going into the bag of references, being like, you know, Joe Sewell struck out twice.
He wasn't allowed home after that happened.
So far, this has all been deeper conversation. Let's stay back on the surface level conversation. Grass, synthetic turf. Let's talk surface, because you're still used to grass. But as you look around you, as you play road games, that's not what you're seeing. What are your thoughts?
That's right. Well, Baum-Walker Stadium is the only one that I know and that we play. I'm sure there are others that has no artificial surfaces at all.
Phil, could we get a visual aid with this?
Yeah, let me just get my little zoom button here to see this. There you go. Look, this is a beautiful day, isn't it?
Oh, I'm so jealous.
That's some postcard stuff right there, guys. Take a snapshot.
Yeah, good job painting.
That's called Chamber of Commerce Tuesday afternoon. So that's all natural surface. Every speck of dirt, all of the warning track, the whole pitcher's mound, the baselines, the paths, everything. The mounds and the bullpens, everything is all natural. There's no artificial surfaces here. I don't know of another college park we play in the SEC or any other really that has that. And when they first built Baum-Walker Stadium in the mid-90s, it was an AstroTurf surface, but obviously now it's not. And that could change because it is expensive to keep a real full baseball field and pay people to do it as full-time jobs. So that could change, but it hasn't yet, hasn't right now. And they do take pride in the idea that this is always a really well taken care of playing surface. Dave Van Horn, the head coach, can tell you everything about the blend of grass that's in there. He actually has a huge interest in trees and planting trees and that kind of stuff. So that's right down his alley. And it's different than most other college parks. In fact, we play in some parks in the SEC that are all artificial surface. Like Vanderbilt, the defending national champion, they don't have a speck of natural surface on their field. Everything is artificial, even the pitcher's mound and the plate area and everything. But, there's reasons that colleges do that. Even those that have even just some of the warning track being artificial turf, or like foul territory in the infield being artificial, but fair territory is natural, or the half and half where the infield is artificial and the outfield is natural. They have reasons to do it because most college baseball programs don't make money. Arkansas does. So they have the funds to do this if they want. But I can understand why a college program wouldn't want to do that, because it is a tremendous expense. But I mean, I can appreciate this because, minor league baseball does have mostly at least, natural playing surfaces. I think things are changing a little bit, though. We opened the season at Globe Life Field, the new home of the Rangers in Arlington, and they seemed to have a pretty good feel of a field that was artificial and dirt on the infield and on the pitcher's mound and in the batter's area. But it actually looked really nice, even though the grass was fake. So that might be the direction we go in at some point, but for now, it's the real thing.
Yeah, I think you're going to see even, like the Pioneer League we were talking about, you're going to see a lot of those ballparks go to synthetic, just because cannot.
Right, because it's a one-time expense rather than an annual expense, and that goes a long way, especially for teams like that will be. I don't know how the whole setup's going to work, but they may be paying the players and paying the coaches, and so
they are.
It's going to be a lot different for them because they're going to look at the field more as an expense than anything else.
Yep, exactly, and you're going to see it. I hope they don't go to the point where home plate and the pitcher's mound are turf.
I honestly don't think that should be allowed. I don't like that. I don't like. It's not a matter, honestly, of baseball's meant to be played on dirt. Like I think guys slip on that stuff a little more. I'll give you, for instance, we played at Louisiana Tech 2 weeks ago, or 2 weekends ago, and they have just a funky, fun little ballpark right there on campus, which you guys need to get a look at some point. It's called JC Love Field. They call it the Love Shack, and they play the song by the B-52s whenever they win. They beat us last Sunday. I got a huge kick out of it. But it's all artificial, and the pitcher's mound is like a little mosquito bite. And the bullpen that Arkansas was pitching in had a huge, Mount Vesuvius or something, and it was very odd. You think to yourself, like, what's going on here? Like, it's an artificial mound. Isn't it built to spec? It was a brand new ballpark. Didn't make any sense. But I do think that the pitchers should be able to work on real dirt, and batters and catchers should be working on real dirt. I'd like the baselines in the infield to be dirt too, but maybe I'm asking for too much.
No, I think it's doable when you plan for it. There is a independent team ballpark where it's all artificial turf, including the plate. The artificial turf extends past the home run fence and about 100 feet into a berm area. So
Interesting.
You cannot escape it for the Lake Erie Crushers. I mean, literally, it extends to the outfield berm.
Well, it's funny, like in Kentucky, with the Kentucky Wildcats, if I remember, they built a new park. They opened 2 years ago, Kentucky Proud Park. I think their mound is natural. The rest of the field is artificial. And I kept thinking to myself, it's like, this is the bluegrass state, right? And this is the flagship university of the bluegrass state, and they don't have real grass on their field. It didn't feel right. But the berms down the lines for fans to sit, of course, were real grass. And it just didn't sit well with me.
Phil, show us your face again.
Wow, that's a lot prettier there.
We were getting the full radio feel. I want to go back though. At the Love Shack, you mean to tell me that the mound on the field and the mound in the bullpen were different heights? That's a home field advantage.
I went and I took pictures, my friend. I did a little snooping. And the home bullpen mound wasn't quite as tall as the visiting bullpen mound. Their pitching coach did not see me taking photos of his mound because I wasn't wearing any Razorback gear at that moment. So, but I'd heard about it from our pitchers that the mound that they were pitching out of in their bullpen was they described it as having to climb on a mountain, and then when you got on the field, it was like pitching off of a mosquito, off of an anthill or something. So it didn't feel right either. No, and I agree with you. It felt like, and I even said on the air, I said, well, some people might call this gamesmanship. Other people might call it something else. And the moment I said that, and this tells you people are listening and they're into it. The moment I said that, like 2 minutes later, I got 3 tweets from people saying it's called Bush League.
We're talking about the old school choking up on the bat. That's really old school. Getting together with the ground screw and going, how can we find any kind of advantage? Any advantage possible?
Well, and even so, if they wanted to here, since this is an all, an all natural field, they could take a guy like that and say, we're just going to put a little extra water here in front of home plate and just let this dude just create a mud ball and leg it out, right?
Yeah.
That's what Rabbit Moranville would have wanted.
That you water down the baselines if you've got a team that comes in that wants to run. But if they don't want to run, just how hard do you want that dirt? We'd go around the league and we'd see how hard is the infield here, how soft is it there, and that would tell you how the other team wanted to play baseball.
That's exactly right. You got to pay attention where it is you're playing. They don't have clubhouse. They don't have visiting clubhouses in most of these college parks either. It's not a show and go because they come up for batting practice, but college teams usually arrive at the ballpark dressed for BP. So that's another thing that felt a little bit different than I was used to, because I remember like the first trip I took with Arkansas, I was asking like, where's the visiting clubhouse? And they wanted to laugh at me. I think, where were we? It was Hawkins Field in Vanderbilt. There's no room for a visiting clubhouse at Hawkins Field in Vanderbilt. There's not even enough room to sneeze without your particles finding their way outside the park onto the street. That's a tiny little joint. Really a fun place for a game, and obviously they're a great program. But there's no room for a visiting clubhouse there. There's no room for a visiting clubhouse at Cliff Hagan Stadium where Kentucky used to play, or Missouri's field, or Lindsey Nelson Stadium in Knoxville. They don't even have one at LSU. I don't think there's one at Ole Miss. We don't have one here, so that's different.
It was a shock to the system. My Lansing Lugnuts a couple of years ago, when the Quad Cities flooded, they held our game against the River Bandits. The whole series was held at the University of Iowa's field. And so the first getting fully dressed onto the bus to go to the field, and then the game was over, and all of the guys going, well, now we need to shower. So
good luck with that.
Plan.
Yeah, good luck with that. Well, we had so I remember in the Pioneer League, when I was in that league, 98, 99. 98 was the only year that this team was around. Yeah, it was the Butte Copper Kings played at the Montana Tech football stadium. And there was no visiting clubhouse.
No.
You couldn't even fit the whole team in the dugout. The thing was so small because the baseball part of the football stadium was over in the corner of one of the end zones. And you would look out, and the big football stands were way there past the left field wall. And then you had this little like corner here where like there was room for maybe 750 people with a roof above you. And the broadcast was the press box was a toll booth that was at the top of the stands with a giant loudspeaker above you. And the visitor did the game, Jesse, at a card table right under that loudspeaker. And I remember doing a game there in like 36, it's middle of June, it's 36 degrees in Butte, Montana, and it's freaking snowing. And the field was so bad. It was wavy and everything in the outfield. and it was the center field fence measured 400, if I can remember correctly, 460 feet away to straightaway center, and underneath the thing that said 460, it said Death Valley. So it was that far out there. I think Cecil Fielder played there very early in his professional career, and they told me that he hit the ball into into the football stands. But that place was such a dump. It had no, I mean, the guys when the game was over, they would get like we finished a series there, and they got dressed out of their uniform into their clothes, like outside the bus. It was a joke. That sort of reminded me a little bit of like, what you do in college baseball.
On the converse, you think about those football games that have been played in baseball stadiums with the wall rising up high as they're trying to fit in the end zone. And so was it Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park where after you crossed a certain yard line, you then flipped field for the next snap so that everyone would be trying to score in the same end zone?
Now,
Well, didn't they just do that? Didn't Wrigley Field, weren't they supposed to host a Northwestern Illinois football game, and they had to do that recently?
they mismeasured.
Yeah.
Because they had changed the Wrigley Field grandstand. And they
Right.
they used the old dimensions to lay out the football field and realized they were 10 yards short.
Right, yeah. Steelers
You get to a
played
certain
Forbes
point
Field
and
for a
then you
bit.
just call a Yui.
Yeah, you got to go to the 50-yard line, then it becomes 1 on 11 again.
All right, as we're winding down, before I get into our term of the day, just a quick question for you, Phil, about the radio. This is where I love the radical notion of if the Houston Astros and if other teams are trying to use technology to steal signs from the catcher, why not make it like football, where there's the radio receivers, like you see in college baseball, where you've got the pitches being called, whether you set it up for the pitcher to call it, the catcher to call it, a coach to call the signal. It would seem to me it would be so quick in between pitches. Somebody go fastball, everybody's ready. The shortstop can grab a radio if he wants. This seems to me to be the easiest way to thwart any technological espionage.
Well, and Jesse, it's not just a matter of thwarting the espionage, which I think you're correct about, but if you were to erase the time that it takes to relay the information from catcher to pitcher, for him to shake, for it to be re-relayed, or for him to need to go through the signs again and all of that. If Major League Baseball really is trying to shave off some time of a game, that's one way to do it. I don't know how much it's going to shave off, but it'll help. It'll help. It'll put a little more pressure on that pitch clock, to be honest, which they need to institute and enforce. So I do think that you have to take advantage of, look, baseball's a pastoral game. It always will be. It's supposed to be played at a slower pace. It doesn't mean it's supposed to be played at a glacial pace. So you need to use the technology that's here in order to better the game. I think that's one way to do it. And like, there's no way that can get stolen. No way at all. So, unless teams feel like they need to have their catchers painting their fingernails week by week, then I don't see the reason to not change.
Let's get into our baseball lingo. We conclude each time with a term from the baseball thesaurus. The different ways, the different words and phrases that come up that you and I, Phil, as broadcasters, that we get to use, that we come across to describe the game. But this time, because we've got you on, we're putting you on the spot. Any term that you can think of that you enjoy using over the course of a broadcast.
Well, the first thing that I would like to say is I think it would help us a little bit if we were able to remove the references of violence that we occasionally use. I've been wondering about this sometimes. Like, I really try to never, you hear people say about stepping on an opponent's throat. I'm thinking to myself, why are we stepping on people's throats? What's the point for that? I don't really see the point. Like, if you want to beat a team, fine. Beat a team. That means blow them out, step on throat. I don't need to say it. Twin killing. I don't want to kill twins. Kill two birds with one stone, not necessary. Double play. Hoover, something like that. I've been thinking about this. And so it's also, but this is a little bit different than for the term that I'm going to bring up, but I am trying to change. You change your language, you change your thoughts. And these two things work in tandem. I'm trying to remove open terms of violence that aren't really used in a violent way. But like when somebody will refer to a team getting punched in the nose, you hear that a lot now when a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, gives up 10 straight points in the first 10 minutes or something, they got punched in the nose. I don't need it. I don't need those references. I think we need to think a little bit more about what we say.
Phil, I've got one for you. Think about whenever an outfielder throws out a runner to base, he guns him down.
Guns them down, right? Bombs, home runs are bombs, man. And I've been guilty enough of saying it all my whole career. They don't have to be bombs. We don't have to be, impressed with rockets and bombs. And let the national anthem take care of that. So I'm trying. I'm going to fail at this too because I've grown up. It takes a long time to change to change the way you communicate. But I'm trying to do it, and some of it is through the terminology that we use in baseball. Punch and Judy. I love that one. Now, that's not punching somebody. It's not punching Judy. I said that once on a broadcast, and someone texted me. It was like, "Why are you talking about somebody punching Judy?" I was like, "That's not. No one's punching Judy. It's punch and Judy." So now I might want to remove that one a little bit, but the punch in that is not about punching somebody. It's just the way that you swing. You sort of punch at the ball. The Judy aspect of it, I'm kind of wondering, is that supposed to be some sort of weird feminization of the style of hitter?
No. Do you know the Punch and Judy shows?
It's a puppet show.
So Mr. Punch and Judy. And I mean, you could read a lot of misogyny into them. Mr. Punch would beat up his wife.
Oh boy, yeah. That's like, that's like the white straps t-shirts that guys wear. They love to call them wife beaters. I'm not calling them wife beaters.
Yeah. But a Punch and Judy hitter is a singles hitter.
You're right. So you know what I like to say though, and I asked my partner, Bubba Carpenter, about this when we had one of these base hits recently. So do you call, I worked in the Texas League 14 years. Texas Leaguer is such an awesome baseball terminology because there's really only one kind of Texas Leaguer base hit, and it's a little looper, a duck snort. I also call it a duck snort. So I asked Bubba, what do you want? I mean, there was a little looper in a short right center. It fell in just over the second baseman's head, just in front of the right fielder. I said, Bubba, what do you want to call that? Is that a duck snort or is that a Texas Leaguer? And he wanted to go with Texas Leaguer. And I said, okay, we'll call it a Texas Leaguer now, but next time it's a duck snort because that's fun to say.
Do you know where that term duck snort, where that came from?
I don't, but I need to know because I like to use it.
So if a home run hitter hits a ball out of sight, you can picture that crack of the bat. Well, what kind of crack do you get off a Texas Leaguer? You get the sound of a duck snort. Yeah, right.
You get that, right?
That's where it comes from.
I use can of corn on the broadcast at least once a game, and people ask me where that came from. And wasn't it there was the cans of corn at the top of the shelf in the grocery, and the guy would just kind of nick it off and catch it in his thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's also one of my favorite ones too. It's one of the first my dad ever taught me at Three River Stadium, a can of corn. Oh. And of course, my first instinct is, "What the heck are you talking about, Dad?"
Phil, this has been great. As we wrap up, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I appreciate what you guys do. It's ballpark culture is baseball culture, and when you love baseball, you don't just love the game, you love the setting and the places that frame the game and that you spend a lot of your life in. So I mean, I've been a huge fan of Ballpark Digest and everything about it for so long now. So I appreciate the passion that you guys have for these cathedrals, or not even just cathedrals, little chapels or little roadside cowboy churches of baseball, because any sort of ballpark is interesting, no matter where it is in the country.
Phil Elson. Kevin Reichard, any final thoughts?
No, I want to thank Phil for appearing on this, on our little podcast. We have a lot of fun doing it, and this one was a lot of fun. So
I enjoyed it too.
Appreciate your work. I love listening to you, and even back to the Travelers days. That was a fun time.
We'll take a listen tonight at 6 o'clock Central Time, Arkansas, Memphis. now I love doing the minors. Don't get me wrong. I loved it, but I have so much fun doing these Razorback games, and I think it comes through on over the air. So take a listen. Tell me what you think.
Absolutely.
Phil Elson. For Kevin Reichard, I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler. Check us out at ballparkdigest.com. This has been the Ballpark Digest Broadcaster Chat.